This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Well, we thought the pace would be in the 32s, and that is certainly the case there. Really good rhythm and speed for the Frenchman Fabio Quartararo. He will be playing for sunshine here at Misano tomorrow afternoon. Good pace from Alex Rins, this 2:30 full laps. Not quite the number of 32s that Fabio Quartararo demonstrated, but nevertheless an excellent session. And much needed confidence boost after a top home round in Aragon last weekend. Alex Rins, 25-year-old Spaniard, can he make it just his sixth front row in MotoGP? Can Fabio find his first front row in MotoGP? World Championship leader Fabio Quartararo tops FP4, but don't go anywhere. We've got MotoGP qualifying for round 14 of the World Championship coming up next.
Enemies ahead!
Number.
Enemies ahead! I got supplies!
ऊपर ऊपर भाई ऊपर एक नंबर चल चल साधु चल ऊपर अकेला ही हो चलो चल चल चलो तीन दिन चलो वो अकेला ही है क्या है ना
I got supplies! I'll take it. Watch out! Watch out! Watch out! I got supplies! Let's go!
Let's go!
You will become more successful once you start using it.
Sometimes I ask my business clients, I say, who sets your prices? Who determines how fast you grow? And who determines the future of your business? I do, we do. No, you don't. Your competitors do.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly. Form up on me!
Success or failure of your business. First is specialization. Specialization is determining where you specialize. You can talk about in your product.
Watch out!
The second is differentiation.
Form up on me!
Differentiation is when you can keep the business. They say that all business strategy is differentiation strategy. Competitive is how it is that you are different from your competitors. There's human beings in the marketplace, customers, all of which want to buy something else. And you better give me a better reason than your competitor does to sell on your competitor. And it's not personal. It's just, I want to get the very best deal. As a customer, I want the highest quality at the lowest price. You tell me why I should buy it. You want the highest quality at the lowest price. And if we're into each other in that, we're competitive.
Help! Help!
Differentiation is how we want to grow. Segmentation means
never been done before in history. Can't be done, can't be done, can't be done, can't be done. I want it done.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
It's They had so much that the federal government tried to break them up for about 13 years. They brought antitrust suits against IBM just like they tried to break up Microsoft. They tried to break Reagan's attention. He said the federal government and what did they really like IBM. IBM treats them really well. They said, well, if they can't come up with something on IBM, they have to drop the lawsuit.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly. Form up on me! I need a mag.
So demographics, here are the key demographics. By the way, if you don't know these, find them. What we do, you know, we find out research. Ask your customers, offer them the fives if they're in the lines. Age, gender, important, income, how much do they earn, education, how well educated are they, occupation, what sort of work do they do, location, and family status. Those are the main demographic features. And you've got to be very clear because if you change the demographics of your customer, you change your total marketing approach, your selling approach, your product, service, your people, and everything. Now your psychographics are even more important. These are is what are their goals and ambitions? Because remember, people are motivated to buy because you offer to help them achieve the goal that they have. So what are their wants and needs and motivations? They're motivated to buy because they have a need for what you're selling. And aspirations, where do they want to be in the future? And can your product or service help them get there? And four, what are their fears or doubts or worries? Here's one of the great ways to discover this for me and my users is there's always one reason why people will buy from you. There's one major reason, and you have to find out what it is and convince the prospect that we can get them back. There's always one major fear that will hold them back. There's always one major doubt that holds them back from buying. And you must find out what that is and alleviate it. You've got to do both in every session. What's the major reason? How does Brendan alleviate the fear of making a mistake of going to this program? How does he do that? Not only does he talk to the higher fees, which find them, he'll pay your airfare and your hotel. Leave that money. He'll pay your airfare and hotel for coming just a little bit of time because he's so confident in the value of the program. So in other words, he's making it a risk-free thing for you to do. What is the biggest risk that you have with Brendan's terms and conditions? That you really like it and won't want your money back. And if you have the money, that you have paid because you really enjoy it because that's the money for it. That's a real tough downside. Number five is what is the problem that we solve? Is we call this PTDX. 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 Problem to be solved. Problem to be solved. Problem to be solved. People buy your product or service because they've got a problem to be solved. Like a pattern. Problem to be solved. Problem to be solved. Problem to be solved. And the goal of that is a problem to be solved. Even satisfying is a problem to solve. Pain, said, "Do you understand what I'm saying?" And he puts it in the camera. He says, "Crystal." All right. If I'm saying crystal clear, he says, "Crystal." But you must be crystal when you're clear, when you're thinking about where they do your company. All your advertising, all your promotion, all your business is conveying crystal to your customers. So they understand crystal. You know how a cafe advertising on the side of the freeway, on the highway, they go down there and say, great, doesn't say mom and pop that's selling meat rolls and family cooked food and how to visit us sometime. It says big sign, hungry, question mark. And the next one says, turn to the next exit for the best food on the highway. In other words, first of all, get your attention because if you're hungry, what happens? Hungry. You see that. You get their activated system to see that. See that we're hungry. Now it's after the attention. The next time, turn here. Food. You want food? Turn now. Real simple. So, concentration is the fourth part. Concentration is where you focus your time, money, and resources. Remember the old saying, 50% of my advertising is wasted, but I don't know which 50% it is. Well, maybe 80%, 90% of advertising and promotional value is wasted. And if you can just increase the efficiency of your advertising by focusing your message with greater clarity on your best customers, you can get 5 and 10 times the response per dollar of advertising that you're doing. So, what are the best possible ways to contact your ideal customer? And this is moving very quickly because it's shifting all the time. Second of all, what are the best possible media for you to use? Most of you use the internet exhaustively, but the internet is only one method of communication. And it's still small relative to all the other forms of advertising and promotion. I have a friend who does $35 million a year with radio ads. 60 to 120 minute radio ads to get people to phone a number where then they are interviewed and then sold into another telephone call where they are introduced to a product that takes them to another telephone call. That's 35 million a year with radio ads. So there's all kinds of ways. Imagine if you could run an ad, 60 seconds. And how do you test an ad? We're working with one of the top companies in the country. They develop an ad, they narrate the ad, they're happy with the ad, and then they run the ad in a tiny market, a small town. They pay $5,000, get 50 spots, and see what kind of response rate they get. They will run the ads 5 days a week. They'll run one ad on Monday, one ad on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and 5 different ads, and they see which one causes the phones to ring. And then they take that and they run it in New York. And what works in Podunk is going to work in New York. In other words, they give up get a nice ad. And what if you could have an ad that would cause qualified people to phone you all day long? Phone you, call you, and say, please, 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 sell me your product or service. I've got my credit card in. Is that possible? But yes. It's being done all the time. Do you ever listen to the radio? Those people are not advertising for fun. They're advertising because they're making a lot of money doing it.
Hi everyone. Thanks for tuning into your virtual Backstage Pass. You just watched Brian explain the 4 keys of marketing strategy. Which ones will you be implementing? We want you to share what you've learned with us, so make sure you leave us a comment below. This concludes our Backstage Pass for Day 2 of the Total Business Mastery event, but if you want to see what happened over the past 2 days and get live streaming access to Day 3, click the Get Virtual Access Now button below. We've got great new segments to share with you on the 3rd and final day of your Total Business Mastery Backstage Pass, so please make sure you stick around. We'll see you then.
On behalf of our President and CEO, Greg Case, and our Chief Marketing Officer, Phil Clement, it's a real honor for Aon to be the sponsor of this event today. And for many of you, you might know that Aon is now a UK-based company, but it's also important for you to know that the Aon Foundation, for the past 25 years, has made it a priority to support educational activities and cultural institutions like the Chicago Humanities Festival and the Charter Humanist Circle that does so much to enrich the lives of all of us in this room and everybody in Chicago. And even though we're now in the UK, I want everybody in this room to know that we intend to continue this commitment, and it will remain high on our priority list for the things we do to support the community of Chicago for many years to come. On behalf of my colleagues at Aon, I want to thank the Charter Humanist Circle and its members for their very valuable support. And I also want to thank Northwestern University Law School for allowing us to use the auditorium today. At Aon, we believe in the mantra, if we can't measure it, we don't do it. And because of that, it's a real honor for us to be here supporting and introducing Dr. Philip Kotler. Dr. Kotler has defined marketing as, quote, the science and art of exploring, creating, and delivering value to satisfy the needs of a target market at a profit. He is recognized around the world as one of the foremost experts on business, of marketing, and for his insights on how exemplary marketing has the creativity and the power to influence global consumers every day. In that spirit, I hope you'll join me in welcoming Dr. Philip Kotler. Now, before I turn the microphone over to Dr. Kotler, in the spirit of marketing, maybe many of you in this room know that Aon does a great many things globally, but one of the things that we've done that has created tremendous brand awareness for our firm is our sponsorship of the Manchester United football team. Despite today's 2-1 merger, right now we're at the top of the Premier League. So in that spirit, I would like to present Dr. Kotler with his very own personalized Manchester United.
David, thank you very much. And I will wear this in the fantasy way. May I say, I really appreciate your introduction of all the introductions I've received. Yours is the most recent. Nation, you make little Stephen Colbert, so I can't pull it off the same way. There will be two groups with respect to marketing. There will be a group that doesn't like marketing, and I'm going to give you why they don't like marketing. I will also tell you there's another group who loves marketing. So before we're through, you don't get totally confused, or at least opinionated. So what I want to do is tell you that these are qualifications that they borrowed from David Oakley, and let me move on and say marketing is not for the humanity. And that doesn't mean as a matter of fact, I'd like to give you a very short history. As a matter of fact, if you took a dictionary, Webster's dictionary, in the year 1900 and looked up the word marketing, you would not find it in the dictionary.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Because marketing is about 100 years old, and it's much more than selling. So let me show you. Let's start. Here is the founder of marketing. What is this? I mean, that's Aristotle. Recently, I was at a party. Who would like to meet most of the analysis of this? And it boils down to Plato, Socrates, or Aristotle. That's a hard one. It turns out that my vote went for Aristotle. Aristotle was Google at the time. He knew more about everything than anyone in the world. He wrote on science, politics, economics, rhetoric, art, and everything. Now, why do I say that he had some marketing impact? Let me read the definition of rhetoric. The founders were the Sophists around 600 BC. They were a group who wanted to use selling and speed and persuasion for their own ends. But Aristotle put the discipline of rhetoric on its feet. Rhetoric is the art that aims to improve the facility of speakers or writers who attempt to inform, persuade, or motivate audiences in specific situations. It is the faculty of observing, in any given case, the available means of persuasion. So, in a sense, he could be the father of selling, the idea of getting someone to do something that they might not have done otherwise. So, let's talk about other early methods of marketing. I know many of you cannot necessarily read this, so I will read it. But the first department store opened when and in what country? Normally, if you're in France and you ask the question, they would say, of course, we invented this. The department store was about 1845. But it turns out, the department store was in Japan, Mitsui Company, which is still alive and well. So that's where and it advertised coffee.
Help!
And then the first ad agency started a little later, much later, NW Ayers, which is still a prosperous advertising agency. A brand was put on a commodity being soap. The brand name was Ayers Soap. The first package research department formed. So, now the word markets has been around all these years. The Middle Ages had markets. In fact, whenever, I would even say the agora in ancient Greece, that means the marketplace. In ancient Greece, people would come on a particular day and to sell things. In the Middle Ages, there were market days. Market. And trade was always there, because trade, through history, between people and regions and countries. So all of that is there. And it was in the decade that marketing books first appeared. And the interesting thing is, who wrote those first marketing books? Were they sociologists? What was the discipline of the people who wrote the first marketing books? Well, they weren't physicists or chemists. They were economists. So why would economists start a subject called marketing? And the answer is they were disillusioned economists. They couldn't find any mention of appetite in the discourse of economists. In other words, never did Adam Smith, Thomas Malthus, David Ricardo, even Alfred Marshall and so on, they really talked about other forces that shaped the man. The only force that shaped the man in their mind was price. You know the famous spur. Raise the price, the man will go down. Lower the price, you can sell more. Price was the only thing that affected the man. So these economists were institutional economists that said, hey, you got to factor in advertising. You got to factor in retail stores, wholesalers, shoppers, agents. And it was the neglect of the classical economists to not really picture the marketplace and the way the economy works that led to marketing. So marketing is technically a branch of economics. Now, who helped develop this field of marketing? Hopefully you don't maybe anyone here. There's one person you might recognize it. I don't know if you can see on these faces, but someone recognize anyone there? Yeah. Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie is here, and his book was How to Win Friends and Influence People. Because in doing this, I wanted to find out who is the exemplar of the selling method. How to win friends and influence people. So let me give you the whole picture. Ernest Dixter. Some of you may know. Why people didn't like to eat fruit, why cigars were offending some people, and all kinds of destructive desires. He apparently studied with Sigmund Freud, and he brought that to mind to these markets. But he had an opponent named Albert Collins, who was not a hedge drinker. We called him more directly. You don't have to be in the store. You can get people to order goods by mail and phone. David Ogilvy is the exemplar advertising person. Stanley was probably could walk into any and how to improve the layouts, the size of the aisles, and make a difference in the volume of business.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
selling to customers. Secondly, they usually like to find leads, usually a prospect. In fact, we distinguish between a hot lead, oh, he's ready to buy. He even called us to buy a warm lead, a cold lead, and so on. Someone else should do that for the salespeople, so they don't waste their time making calls. And the third thing was, someone has to prepare brochures and ads. And the salesman is not skilled, the salesperson isn't skilled at communicating through advertising and brochures. So sales departments added 3 people, or hired them from time to time. Later on, it exploded to the day today when we have multinationals. In other words, marketing, those 3 people split from sales and became big enough to be its own department. And so the audience here may be a chief marketing officer. The old name was vice president of marketing. But I like the name chief marketing officer because that person now is part of the chief officers, chief information officer, chief information officer, and the status has moved up. Some of you may be brand managers, may have been in your past experience. Category managers, market segment.
Head toward this point.
Distribution channels, like retail or wholesale things, pricing managers, communication managers, database direct marketers, internet people. Marketing is now, the character of a marketing department depends very much on what the CEO thinks. So the one-two-suite CEO is a person who took over a company, and he says, I don't have marketing, I know I need it. And all I want from marketing is some communications. I just want someone to broadcast it, promote us. So that person is missing a lot of other things made up by other CEOs who are 4P CEOs. Now, a 4P CEO says, I need a marketing person that has to mention product. That's the first P. What about our product? What's good about it? What are the features? Price? What should it be priced at? Place? Where should it be made accessible? Stores. And finally, so that's a more educated view of the potential of marketing. But there's even a better view, and that's called the CEO who says, no, we're going to start with 4 P's. We're going to start with the fact the market is complex. There's a lot of segments. Each segment deserves its own plan. In fact, one thing we learned is if you just have one value proposition for the whole market, it really doesn't trigger anything in many parts of the market. So that CEO says, what segment should we go after? And what position should we take with each segment? What do we say about ourselves and how we can satisfy their needs? Now, there's even a higher type CEO, which is exemplified by A.G. Lafley, who ran Procter & Gamble, recently retired. When he asked A.G. Lafley, what's marketing? What's your picture? He says, well, M.E. What do you mean? Marketing is everything. Marketing is everything. What he means is everything starts with the customer. No customers, no business. And I think he's making that point very much. Now, moving on, there's a lot of things that a chief marketing officer does, and I won't go into any detail, but there's a lot of tasks, and the sad fact is that sometimes the chief marketing officer only lasts 2 years. In other words, does a job, and maybe the CEO is not feeling that is really brought into the business that the cost of the CMO exceeds what the value of the CMO is. There's a lot that go into it why CEOs on the average after their job. By the way, some of them get better jobs. Be the CEO. tourists. We don't have any attractions for them to come and see. I would like to...
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Dress it up and make it attractive against all of the other competitive places. The second, the first part, there's an agent.
आजा भाई
We can make you into a better product. That's sort of the mind. You know, do your hair differently, walk a little, dress differently. Actually, we're going to use you to reignite the archetype of Joan Baez. You know Joan Baez, the folks say, well, we need a new Joan Baez. So we can recast you and form you as the kind of person we all miss. Now, social marketing is another branch. Exercise, say no to drugs, stop smoking cigarettes, get off of tobacco, say no to a number of things. Positive behaviors and negative behaviors. By the way, remember what brings a nation, all the vices, they fundraising is part of marketing. I mean, fundraising is an odd form because you're not exchanging. Everything else is sort of an exchange of values. Fundraising seems to be a one-way transfer. Here's some money for the museum. But any fundraiser knows there's something that should come back to the person who is the donor and supporter of a museum. And working that way is important. So these are offshoots. Now, all of us do marketing. If you read the list, it's all in marketing. If you ever compete for a job, and you knew about backup, did you dress up as well as you could? Did you care what you say? Did you compete for a desirable apartment? Make an impression and market ourselves to some extent.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Exaggeration, and so on and so forth. And I really here are some of the criticisms.
हेलो एक दो नंबर तीन नंबर
I'll drive.
Marketers had not paid sufficient attention to product safety. We know that because Ralph Nader made his career, basically, the unsafety of the cars. Then we got lead poisoning, there's those problems and so on. Here's a serious thing. Marketers, and this is not all marketers, these are some particular companies and so on. Marketers favor giving the public what it wants, whether it's good or not good. Here's I'll tell you something. I'll tell you anything that will make money. Therefore, marketing promotes a materialistic mindset. That if we turn it on to
Super
more
Ravi.
of a
On the
materialistic
Super Ravi.
services and keeping up with the Joneses. Marketers rarely talk about sane consumption. We have some beer companies say, please enjoy our beer, but don't drink too much. That's nice that they, no one listens to that. And you still have binge drinking, but they're trying to do it again. And so on and so forth. Now, let me just say, there's another side. It's important to, because it's
Yeah.
marketing has undoubtedly raised the sensibility. People don't make
First
their
group.
time with you. In other words, refrigerators,
What
going out, getting some ice and putting it in the box and so on. And even the washing machines are very slow. So, in other words, people, it would be expensive to buy a new appliance, but marketers persisted in saying your life will be better with new appliances, and that's one of the challenges. I would even go so far as to say that marketing is so connected to the idea of the middle class. We're talking about preserving and building the middle class and the lifestyle that goes with it. And marketing is an essential definer of what it is to be and want, what it is to want as a member of the middle class. Marketing, social marketing, has helped improve a lot of things. You know, one of the first causes that marketing tends to is the environment and waste and the ill effects of some products and so on. Preserving the environment was one of the first things that social marketers got into. Now they're into obesity as a problem, littering as a problem, and other problems. Marketing is very important to the cultural world, museums, performing arts. And one of the big problems that cultural institutions are facing, especially in the performing arts, is the aging of audiences. How do you get people who are in their 40s to go to virtual reality? It's called the grading of the audience. And maybe that problem has been with us for a long time. The marketers are at work doing segmentation, targeting, positioning, in order to make sure that all seats are filled in the theater, and also the museums are very busy as marketing institutions because they have to get visitors, they have to get funding, they have to get government grants. So marketing is almost a business function that's going on. But let me, this is not time to take a vote. Do you like marketing or you don't like marketing? But let me show you that the negative feelings about marketing came up from these people. The attackers, they attacked marketing. You recognize them. Did you see Ralph Nader? I know. There he is. Who else? Well, it is Ralph Nader. Unsafe at any speed. Rachel Carlson, by the way, deserves so much more credit than we give her for her book on Silent Spring, which was about the chemical pollution, the pesticides that we're getting into our spring water. order and so on. Francis Hatcher, who popularized the idea that we are persuaders, that when you go into the movie theater, you don't notice, but an ad is sort of flashing to go and get some popcorn down. Subliminal advertising, which never did happen, but they didn't persuade us. And then John kind of felt brave and pointed out that while we spend so much money in making enough deodorants for any type of interest we have in deodorants, in the public sector, you got streets that are littered and there's traffic and there's slow traffic so we have a good private sector, but the private sector doesn't have the public goods that would facilitate things. You got Naomi Klein, who's probably the prototype person now for attacking branding. They're awful. Brand, they're paying more than you need to pay. The book is called No Logo, logo being the brand. And Michael Sandel has this new book out, which is really interesting and worth reading. It's called Brand Force and Justice. Ask groups about this size, Harvard, what is the just thing to do in each situation. But the new book is called What Money Can't Buy, The Moral Rules of Marketing. Where it points out that you're in jail in California and you don't have to sell. You can pay for a better sell. Maybe one with a computer will improve it. But he's also, today our culture divides people in social classes more clearly. We used to go to ball games. I would sit next to someone who was rich and someone who was poor. We'd all stand in the same line for hot dogs. Today, the guys who are rich are up in the skybox, and he calls it the skyboxification of the United States. The skyboxification. They're eating filet mignon, and we peasants are down there having standing in line for our hot dogs. So we are meeting each other as we used to in the old days. That's very interesting. I like to quote Will Rogers with this remark. If advertising spent the same amount of money that they on improving product they do on advertising, they wouldn't have to advertise it. And that's, by the way, that's a very profound observation, because in the age of the internet, it's so much easier to talk about a product you like others, and also about a product you don't like. And in a sense, if this goes far enough, there will be no bad companies anymore. It would be not possible for a company to be bad, because the word of mouth will sink it. So he's sort of touching on that point. Do a good job, and others will advertise the good job you did. Now, I want to add another group, and this is a group called visionaries, and I'd like to call them our best marketers. But they're not necessarily the chief marketing officer, they're CEOs. But what their contribution is you want from this chief marketing officer. So who do you see here? Do you know any of those people? Yeah, you got to know some of them, but you probably don't know the first one. Ingvar Kamprad. It's very hard to remember his name, but he's that Swedish person who invented IKEA. Who said, I must bring down the cost of furniture, and I can do that by taking the air out of it, just selling knockdown furniture, and now people can afford to have some nice things in their homes. Richard Branson is phenomenal. He's not only in self-promotion, one of the best self-promoters possible. I don't know if you know that he was in Times Square some years ago. They introduced his new cell phone, the Virgin cell phone. And he said he was going to drop off of a building, a 30-story building, and not wearing any clothes or something. So everyone showed up, I don't know why they were going to show up, but they showed up in Times Square. And sure, jumped down, but it was on a rope, and he's carrying a huge version of his new cell phone. And so everyone, not just in Times Square, they were covering it. All of New York knew about the news. There was a new version. So he's very good at that. But right now, he told me something I couldn't believe. I was in Dubai, and he gave a speech, and we were just chatting, and he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Chicago." He said, "You know, there will be a time when you can go from Dubai to Chicago in half an hour." What's it? Is this a time machine you're inventing? He says, "No, it's just a rocket ship." So the rocket ship takes off from Dubai, it goes right up in the air and lands in Chicago. So he's working with some people on the new spaceships, basically. And you want to watch him. Of course, Walt Disney, great visionary. First television, thanks to him, was Southwest Airways. It started a full class of those cross. And then we got a new ride who ran the value shop. And he said, "I'm not selling hope. I'm selling good Skittles. All the others sell hope." There was a famous remark by Red. After we made slowly sell hope. But she wrestled with that one. Then you got Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and Jeff Bezos. And Jeff, let's see, we gotta make sure he gets in there. Jeff is extraordinary. If there's anyone who has consumer thinking in his mind, wanting to facilitate the consumer to really order or return, anything like that, and then to buy more than this, to buy clothes, he's doing a marvelous job. He's very attentive. We're going to go on, and I'm going to want some questions from you, but let me just refer to a few more things. This is a chart I use in the book Marketing 3.0, basically to say that every company should define its mission, its vision, and its values, what it really cares about. And if you're a 1.0 marketer, it's a good job you're doing. I mean, of course, you're trying to deliver satisfaction, make a profit, and make a good product, be better. If you're a 2.0 marketer, you want to help people realize their aspirations. And you want to deliver things that they aspire to have. They will return frequently to buy more, and your product is different than the others. Not only better, but different. And suddenly, to heart, the spirit. What spirit? It's that small set of companies that say, we're compassionate. We have compassion to say to the world we want to get involved, we want to change for improving the lives of people. You could say you can use that for just some charity work they're doing, or it could be a real fundamental change in the way they do their business. You can name some companies that really have felt that they want to appreciate that work. So that is, here's one of my favorite companies that illustrate the cells in that picture. The S.C. Johnson company in Racine, Wisconsin, whose products are shown over here. You probably have purchased some of their waxes or some of their insect repellents or other things. But they're just winning awards for being a very caring company. Incidentally, a book that you might want to read is called Firms of Endearment. It's a fancy way to say companies we love, Firms of Endearment. And I love the subtitle, World-Class Companies Profit from Passion and Purpose. And it's based on asking the audience, random meeting of people, is there any company this too, because it would be a different mix of companies that would come up. But the main thing is, these firms of endearment are so much more profitable than the ones that have not been dear to us. One of the things is that they're 9 or 10 times as profitable. This is why the last one. These are the spend less on marketing. No, they spend less on advertising, so who's doing the advertising? The customer. You guys are.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
The end of work. This is Jeremy. But it is true. If we're talking about a new product, marketing will help accelerate its recognition, the awareness of it, and intensify the drive to purchase it. In other words, we buy our iPads and other things that come along are because they're wanted. They are desired objects, and marketing accelerates them. The other book, and I'll end with this, The Death of the Man. And what's the relationship between marketing and demand? And this is the term saturated and saturated I've been wrestling with that problem, and then you start worrying about some more growth. As members of the department are wrestling with how to ignore these books and say they're wrong, and that there is a bright future ahead. So let me stop here and take any questions you might have.
Okay, we have time for a few questions for Professor Kotler. Is there anyone on this side of the auditorium that would like to ask a question? Put your
Yes.
hands up.
I see you over there. And if there's any other people, there's a person over there. Would you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Iris Witkowski, and I can come into the humanities as long as it exists, and I very much appreciate your talk today. I am making a statement. What really drives me nuts as far as saturation is concerned is the placement of products on television programs. It used to be that in a movie you'd say, oh, I saw that brand, but it seemed to be accidental. Now it's all over. Even the anchormen have LLB jackets on.
You know, that's the field called product placement. And we first got conscious of it with the James Bond film, where each time you saw money or something else, because it was a matter of what car company would pay the most for the next film that featured that car. And now, because most of us don't notice it. It's not yet that intrusive, but it has been discovered the way to get some legibility.
In the evening national news, 75 to 80% of the ads are for pharmaceuticals.
And they say lots of things about it.
And I believe there was a change in legal requirements some years ago. What are your thoughts about that? Clearly, that advertising is driving the ad.
Doctors are advertising themselves, even if they don't. The expert is Thomas Season, who uses a term called BS, and he's always working with the doctors and pharmacists. And any other things that happen is
Hi, my name is Bob Markinson. Big influence from my My question. Find the beginning of the 20th century. We're 100 years into social media. You see across a continuum of marketing, it's the short-term phenomenon of radical change as we marketing for the next century. That's part one. Part two, do you see
newspapers, which are disappearing, by the way, radio, TV, billboards, and magazines. So at best, they will say this: let's turn 10% of our next budget over to digital, which means say Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and LinkedIn, and so on. And let's see what happens. Let's hire a 12-year-old. give them a budget, and hope they come back saying, measured advertising right either. I mean, traditional advertising was a waste, first of all, the basic notion of traditional advertising is you know that half the people will never see it. Now, about measuring, if you read Advertising Age, you'll see a lot of statements and claims that measurement going on. One thing to say is this. Don't take your ad budget and take 50% and switch it to digital, which one firm did. And it was a terrible result. Because until you know what each social medium does, what you want is 10% of your budget going that way, and then when there's some proof, you put in another 5 or 10% into that particular use of the social media.
Okay, we've got time for just one more question. I know a lot of our attendees are going to other events, so we have one right here.
Oh, okay.
Mark Bruin is my name. I've been in direct marketing my entire career. And so it's interesting that I should follow up a question about measurement and advertising.
Yes.
Because I've lived by metrics. Now, my question is, I've always guided my marketing for 4 P's, 5 P's, and in terms of the paid placement on the internet, certainly glad of the world, and our distribution channels have changed. How do you see the evolution of this?
Okay. First of all, let me say I'm so glad you're in direct marketing. Direct marketing people are much more accountable for the results. They can actually experiment with trying to release different direct messages and see and testing, and then going with the one and knowing what it costs to do the campaign, what the sales were, and it's just pure P&L kind of exercise, which we couldn't do with just the normal commercials on TV. Now, you asked me where the other 3 P's are going, in a sense, like what's happening to product thinking, pricing. See, there will be new distribution channels all the time. I've been asked this question when I wrote the book Marketing 3.0, which is really the case that some companies should be socially responsible as well. Someone would ask me, what are you going to come up with?
आजा भाई एक नंबर
I
आ
don't really
आजा भाई
because when you go from the mind to the heart to the spirit, I don't know how much further you can go. But I am thinking that 4.0 is going to find companies in the future that are building ecosystems and platforms where we get involved with them in such a way that everything is being supplied that we want as an individual. Think of iTunes. Think of the iPhone, the whole setup. Think of Harley Davidson. If I buy a Harley Davidson, I'm a member of, they call them the Harley, the hogs. I'm a hog. Harley owner groupie. And not only that, I can take my motorcycle and just go and meet people I don't know. Some have beards. Others have beards, but they're fake. They're wearing leather jackets. These are business people. They're maybe chief financial officers, but they want to be marketing. So they supply a whole system to fit into that. If more and more companies might sort of begin to think about that. Now, let's take, what's the one who's making shoes now? Is it Tom Shoes or the other one? Zappos? They're creating a system that's going to so
And you have to create a whole in other words, it won't be product. Thank you very much.
Mass marketing, we have to move from that to using the digital media. We are in a digital age, and I do not want to eliminate 30-second commercials. They're very useful for building a brand, but we must also do social marketing, social media marketing. And fourth, I want to talk about Marketing 3.0 and social responsibility. Now, let's start with this idea of the challenges. And I'm using a picture of a piece of glass. I happen to be a major collector of glass, big kinds of glass. And the reason I was attracted to this is the artist managed to show the earth, and inside the earth is a tree, and yet the planet is fragile. It's delicate. We have to treat it right so that trees continue to grow, and so on. The challenges are many. You know them. What are you going to do about globalization? Is Italy sufficiently globalized? Are you a country that just wants to do business with your own businesses in Italy? How many of you have gone to China? How much business are you doing with China, exporting and even opening maybe a small factory in China or India? The idea is always go to the countries that are growing. Don't go to countries that are not growing. Don't go to countries that don't have money. Always go to where the growth is. Don't go to India. Make Italy a well-known name in this a book you want. So many businesses have been destroyed by the digital world.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly. Let's go!
And then the environment. Is my company hurting the environment? And then recognize the main point is humans are smart. They can learn whatever they want to learn about you. They can look up your website. They can see other opinions. There are many tools, like saying, I'm trying on the wheel. I can look up what other people have.
Someone has been here. Someone has been here.
So the result is a certain kind of problem. The problem is called slow economic growth. Let me tell you something about that. When times were good, when there were factories full of people making things, the people in the factories usually had a good income, an income that could support them and their wives, their children, and have a good life and afford a vacation and so on. What's happening now is factories are not found in most places anymore. They're found mostly in China. China became the factory of the world, just like India became the office of the world, because India was supplying us with many telephone and digital services for accountants and so on. And furthermore, factories are changing from having 1,000 people to having
Someone has been here.
one person running the factory and a dog to wait.
Someone has been here.
In case he doesn't see the dial. In other words, automation of the factory is proceeding very fast. Raising the question, will there be enough jobs in Italy for the number of people in Italy? Will there be enough jobs in the United States for the number of workers? No one has the answer. You're going to have to be either a pessimist or optimist.
Someone has been here.
The future of work. Because if there's going to be a job shortage as the world problem, we're going to have to learn to share the jobs. France, as a country, has already worked on by saying, well, the job shouldn't be 40 hours a week, it should be 35 hours a week.
Someone has been here.
Maybe your work should be 3 days.
I need consumables.
But how do we pay for less work? So I don't have answers, but it's a problem. Now, so the world is divided into pessimists and optimists. Pessimist who's asked about the future growth of the GDP, the gross domestic product, they are saying that we will not go back to 4% growth in Europe that we used to have, or China's 10%.
Someone has been here.
For some years. That in fact it's going to be slow growth.
Someone has been here.
One of the top economists named Larry Summers.
Someone has been here.
Head of Harvard University. He was the president of Harvard. In a recent
I need consumables.
He said that the growth will be 1 or 2% for the next 50 years. That's very depressing. That's very depressing.
Marked a location.
And another economist at my university, Northwestern University, actually looked at
I'm out.
all the
Need ammo.
numbers and said pretty much the same thing for the United States. it won't go back to 4 or 5% growth. It will be about a half of 1%. On the other hand, pick up a book called Abundance. Abundance. And the book is written
Marked
by
a location.
Brilliant.
Get in the car.
Peter Diamandis. Peter Diamandis is the one who created the famous X Prize. If you know about the X Prize, it is given to anyone who solves a major problem in the world. For example, if you can make an automobile that can go 100 miles on 1 gallon of gas, you will win $10 million. If you could clean up
Someone has been here.
in the Gulf of Mexico within hours of it happening, as opposed to weeks and weeks of oil spreading through the Gulf, you will win $10 million. He's the man who created that idea, and he also created a new university called Singularity University in San Francisco. The purpose of Singularity University is so different than any other university. You go there for training in nanotechnology, robotics, artificial intelligence, networks and sensors. The courses are highly technical to make you prepared to innovate. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you go to Singularity University, and you'll meet so many other people who also want to innovate their solutions. In his book called Abundance, which he just published, he predicts a world where we will end poverty in 20 years. There will be no poverty. Food will be abundant.
Help!
Because of the ability to grow the yield. Instead of getting 10 bananas from the tree, you'll get 50 bananas from the tree. The water will be desalinated so that water is abundant everywhere. So his picture is one of great optimism. But nothing we can do. So let me continue. Let me look at the following questions. Here's the first one. And if you have a pencil and you come from a company, use this as a put down a number after each of these 9 things. There are 9 items. Give yourself up to 5 points per item. So if you have a 5, you'll get a score of 5. For your company, the first question is, your company is 5 if I were to go into your marketing research and marketing analytics. And do you have big data? Because
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
But just having big data is not enough because you gotta dig through it. You got to do market analysis and learn and get insights from big data. So how many points do you want to give something? Have you innovated? What about communication? Do you think your company has a good image that is clear and powerful?
Enemies ahead!
Well understood. Or not? Give yourself anywhere from 1 point, if there's very poor communication, all the way to 5 points. The next thing, do you run your sales force efficiently? Do you have a sales force? Do you manage the cost of the sales force very carefully? For example, my ideal company in Salesforce management is called Salesforce.com. Salesforce.com is such a powerful company.
Enemies ahead!
Creates the kind of data that would help you know how to manage your sales
Are you running good distribution channels? Have you created any new distribution channels? Remember, in the old days, all you did at a gas station was to get some fuel. Today, the gas station is a money-making store, and the gas doesn't make that much money, it's the store. So how do you find new channels of distribution? Would you say you have a well-thought-out marketing strategy? Would you give your strategy a 5, or a 4, or a 3, or a 2, or a 1?
Head toward this point.
Are you well organized for marketing?
Defend the mark.
CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. Do you have good, does he or she have good respect from the other officers, the Chief Financial Officer, the Chief
I got supplies.
Officer? And then finally, practice
I got supplies.
responsibility and so on. Now, I'm not going to ask you to turn this in. If we do that,
Form up on me.
sometimes you're in an audience which has a number thing. Everyone has a number, and then we could show how many of you had 45 points, how many had 44. So we're not going to do that. But I would worry if I am you, and your score is like 20, 45. That means you better go back to read the books on marketing and so on. Okay. But let's take this and move on. Someone might say, we're an old industry. We are the coffee. We make coffee. There's no opportunity for us in the coffee industry. Well, Starbucks? Starbucks didn't believe there's no opportunity. It's an old product, but they created it as your home. It's your third home. I mean, when you... your first home is your family, the second is the office, the third is Starbucks. Pleasant. Take your computer there, sit there all day. Meet your friends at Starbucks. Now, what is Starbucks? What complemented a company as strong and interesting as Zara, changing its merchandise every 2 weeks, which says to a young lady, if she doesn't like it won't be there 2 weeks later. Zappos is a firm run by a man called Tony His job is to produce happiness, not sell shoes. If he's selling shoes, it's to make you happier. He wants his employees to be happy. He wants his suppliers to be happier. He uses the word happify. He's in the business of happifying, making people happy. And by the way, if you buy a pair of shoes, what's new is he will give a free pair of shoes to a poor person because you bought shoes from him. This is a new idea, by the way. It's also being practiced by a company that makes eyeglasses. When you buy a pair of eyeglasses from them, some poor person who could not afford having a pair of glasses, well, I'm going to buy from that company. I'm going to buy from Zappos. So it's a new idea for you to think about. Now, what about new industries? We just proved that old industries could be redone and revitalized. Yes, or many young people don't want to work for a big company. They want to create a app or a software or a game. And robotics is coming more and more. I am waiting for someone to invent a robot. So I say to the doctor at home, get me some coffee. He walks and gets coffee for me. I say, clean the living room. He pushes the broom or the vacuum. So Japan is working on that, by the way. Japan can't do everything, but... And there's a movie that just came out about a woman that was created. This movie's called Ex Machina. The woman actress is not a real woman, but looks like a real woman. She is basically a robot with all the electronics. So
what world of innovation do you want to go into? What about bioengineering? What about 3D printing? What people are saying now is every home that has a Hewlett-Packard printer will also have a 3D printer. And it will be used to make whatever you want to make. It could be a beautiful vessel. It could be a very complicated thing. They say that the auto industry is making its parts using 3D printing. They say that if you're lost on an island, there's two things you want. One is to have your iPhone, if you're lost on an island. The other is to have a 3D printer, because a 3D printer will allow you to make a boat, or to print, so to speak, something that's missing. So it's a world of new opportunities. Are there new opportunities in other countries? Yes. Asia comes to mind first. I must be selling things in Asia. Eventually it will be Africa. Eventually the next big place is when some countries in Africa where the wages are lower, you know, even China will lose factories to places in Africa. So Italy has a history in Africa. Italy, of course, went into Abyssinia. You had a colony in Africa, and so on and so forth. So watch that. Are there new opportunities for companies of something? Yes. Let's look at what Tata did, Mr. Tata. He said, it's very he would notice motorcycles with a mother behind it and children, 5 or 6 family people on one motorcycle, and accidents happen, killing the whole family. And he said, you know, it shouldn't be a motorcycle, it should be a child. Let's make a child. Because it's really a covered motorcycle. The problem is, people who had $2,500 in India wanted to leave up a little more and get a little car. So the Nano got them excited about owning a car, but the next level, they ended up buying the next level. But look, say that eventually, it will cost in greatly designed products made of great leather and fabrics.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
They gave them housing. I'm sorry, it didn't move fast enough into computers. It went into computers, but it was not successful in moving from typewriters to computers. But the point I want to make is some of you are making products that should be going after the market that is the rich market. The rich people have so much money. In fact, there's so many new
billionaires. You know where they are? China has more billionaires than India has, Russia has. They're all going to go Italian. I'm sure they're going to go Italian. And they're going to sell a lot of products. And maybe find out what else. And bring them over here. And then are there opportunities in specific sectors? So have you done anything to improve the health sector, the education sector? Look at the gift you gave us in education. Isn't it a Montessori? Montessori from Italy. My daughters all grew up with Montessori, and it's a fabulous way to get an education as a child. So what else can you do for us in improving education, getting and energy? We're all hoping to find new ways to get good energy, solar and wind and so on. We were told recently, my wife and I, that we should solarize our home, and we'll end
Enemies
up
ahead!
at much lower cost than buying electricity from the public company, and we could even sell extra energy. And the ban coming from the company he is the biggest factor in making batteries not only for this car, but for your home. You're going to have to home to supply energy at much less money to you than you are spending now. Okay. Now, if someone says we don't have any more new innovations, well, what else can we do? We're at the end of innovation. Well, the digital wallet is another way to call science or smart. By the way, now we have digital watches. I don't know if it's successful, but all of us have anything. But Apple is busy making a digital economy.